The biggest secret of Azeroth is under Northrend, and it's terrifying. What is this? A secret under Northrend? Now, we already have confirmation. We are, in fact, going back to Northrend, I believe, in the last Titan expansion. That was what Chris Metzen said at BlizzCon. So Northrend is going to be revisited. We don't know why yet. Why are we going back to Northrend? Could it be they're finally going to fix the Lich King Lord they ruined in Shadowlands? Probably not. Could it be something even more sinister? Let's see what Doran, the teller of 1,000 truths, has to say about Northrend and why we're going back.
Northrend is the most important place on Azeroth. Ulduar, the main Titan facility, is here. Titan Keepers rule from this place. It was confirmed in the last Titan when the World Conspiracy is uncovered that the Titans, when they return to Azeroth, will come to Northrend out of all the places. The Chainer created a Forge of Souls and the Ice Crown Citadel here out of all the places, siphoning Azeroth's essence from this place, and almost certainly he built this on top of a Titan facility. The logos for the World Soul Saga.
By the way, I would say he is correct on that first point. We're going back to Northrend because of the Titan facilities that exist up there. It's going to happen in the last Titan, so that's why we're going back, but I don't know what we're supposed to do or what's in those things.
That Azeroth is in a prison. We've recently learned in the War Within that a part of this prison is in Castlegar called the World Core. However, seeing that Azeroth's World Soul is gigantic, this prison is worldwide, but almost certainly the control room is in Northrend. Why did Ridicron have his base under Northrend? Why is Northrend so potent in Arcane, which is Titan magic? Something insane is...
I wonder if we're not going to see a Ridicron again. We just talked about him like a couple days ago. If we're not going to see him again until the last Titan, like he's just going to remain hidden until then. We know that's his end game, right? He wants to kill the Titans, so maybe he does not show up again until we see them. But I was hoping we get a little bit of a hint of what he's up to or where he's at before that.
Is currently sleeping under Northrend, a massive facility that only the Titans and select few villains know about. I know it all
I'm gonna have to look at that clip in a second.
Hear me out, as this is really mind-blowing when you really connect the dots with the new lore. Did you know you can play the War Within directly on your phone with awesome this video's sponsor? You can control your desktop from your phone completely free, which is perfect when you don't really want to sit at the computer. Super easy to use, just use my link, download the PC and the phone app, and just connect them. The free version is great, you can control your desktop, but the real deal is the game version with custom keyboards for various games such as WoW, with great FPS and sound. Make sure to use my code DORON to get 7 days completely free so you can try it out only for the first 200 people. They also got a smart lock to turn off your PC at any time, as well as hot sales with up to 40% off on pro and game versions. Check out awesome.
There it is, awesome. Yeah, do it.
I don't feel like this is at the moment that big of news, but some of the lore we've got from the Archives questlines and the War Within recently changed everything we had ever known about the Titans and any lore so far. Long story short, they literally saw confirmed that Azeroth is in fact inside of a giant Titan prison. It's no longer a conspiracy, but they kinda sugarcoated it, of course, as it is from a Titan perspective. From the various questlines, we patched together a few bits of critical information. There is apparently a system called the Manifold that is using Ulduar, a big part of Kalimdor, Eastern Kingdoms, and some hidden Titan facilities we're yet to discover, and later on, we've learned that this system is actually one large engine empowering the World Core, which is literally a part of a Titan prison. The Keeper told us that the Titans built this World Core chamber in order to be the only ones that are able to influence Azeroth. Then they told us that Azeroth rebelled against this, she didn't like it, she started brainwashing their servants to rebel, and she...
Brainwashing or freeing? I don't know. See, you gotta be careful with your words. Just like we call it the curse of flesh. It's not the curse of flesh, it's the gift of free will. That's what the curse of flesh was. It gave us the free will to basically do what we want rather than just be minions of the Titans. Same with these, what they call them, Thragar, right? These dwarves that become diamond form. They do that because they get influenced by Azeroth, right? They get close enough to her that she's able to influence them. What she's essentially doing is giving them free will from the Titans, much like the Curse of Flesh did for us. So I wouldn't say it's a bad thing. It's a good thing.
Even crystallize some of them, turning them into
brainwashing is a portrait. Yeah,
the portrait of words, essentially what Magni was until recently. The World Core is at the bottom of this coreway in Kazakar, where the World 3 Luna here was once planted. However, what I think is the key point here is that this isn't the true prison. This is just one of the mechanisms, and this prison has many chambers worldwide that connect to a single place. Remember the World Soul Saga timeline. When the Void Corruption is imminent, the Titans will come to Northrend out of all the places to show us their true face. Ulduar, the main Titan facility, is in Northrend, and that Forge of Souls was also in
Man,
Northrend.
I have such good memories flying around Ulduar. You remember, like, flying was still, yeah, it was relatively new. We got it in Burning Crusade. But Ulduar was such a well-built zone for flying. It just felt massive. It was very elevated. Like, there was a ton of, like, clearance from the ground to the highest elevations of the highest Titan facilities. I just loved that zone. Overall, I thought it was a great zone, well-designed, and really well-built for flying, for sure.
Northrend, and that Forge of Souls was also in Northrend that Soval was draining at the end of Shadowlands. Northrend is where the true prison is and the bulk of the mechanism, and I want to discuss how crazy this actually is when compared with the new information we've just learned. So, we talked about this prison mechanism over a year ago when the World Soul Saga was announced, and it was so evident with the logos that were put in front of us. Literally, war within is Azeroth shadowing slowly, the servers breaking apart. This is consistent with everything that happened.
Right.
We're getting into the crust of the world, we're uncovering the old god blood deposits, and all sorts of crazy underground stuff. Then, Midnight Invasion happens, the world is broken. As you can see from the logo, it is just one gigantic void mess, like a giant void portal. Then we were told that
there's always been rumors, or not rumors, but basically confirmation from Blizzard that we're going to take a loss. I think it happens in the Midnight expansion. We're going to take our loss in the Midnight expansion, and then the Last Titan's going to be, you know, your comeback from that. It's they already said this was inspired by how Marvel did the Infinity Saga. What happened in the second part of the Infinity Saga? Where technically it was the first part of the final two, right? They take a loss. Thanos snaps his fingers. They lose. And then the final, what's it called? The final movie is just about them coming back and finally winning. I think that's exactly what we're going to see here. We're going to lose. We're going to take our L in Midnight, and then we're finally going to be able to win in the Last Titan.
portal. Then
Spoilers is that? No, it's just storytelling 101. I mean, when you create a trilogy, usually the first one you're building up, maybe you get a win over some minor boss. Second movie is like your downfall, and then the third movie is the big comeback and the win.
In the final void battle, we will win with the Army of the Light, but then something crazy will
Thanks for
happen.
spoiling it for you.
A worldwide conspiracy will unravel, and the Titans will arrive to Azeroth in person. This is exactly where the Last Titan logo steps in, because after the destruction of the surface and the Void Invasion, we got a completely pristine Titan mechanism in the consistent yellow color in the logo. What people connected even back then is that this logo is literally the same as the prison of the Primal Incarnates from Dragonflight. The Primal Incarnates are primal elemental beings that were put into Titan arcane prisons. Essentially, a small version of this is happening to Azeroth. As we've learned, Azeroth is also elemental. The rings in the logo are exactly the same.
It's a 1-to-1. Even when it breaks, if you guys remember, I did this. I was one of the first people that said this shit. Go back to my channel and see. Go back to my YouTube channel and see. You think I'm lying? Remember when I was showing the images of right before Iridikron's orb explodes, how it looked just like the World Soul? And I was like, that image that we always see, that flaming ball, is not actually Azeroth. That's just the outer wall of her prison. I'm just saying. I still think that's true. And these images lining up 1-to-1 is, in fact, it's another hint at that. Now, whether or not, what's it called? Whether or not we take our loss, you guys were talking about at the end of the War Within or in Midnight, same shit. Basically, Midnight is going to be an expansion of dealing with a loss. Even if we take it at the end of the War Within, we're dealing with it in Midnight.
The runes, there is no doubt that the logo of the Last Titan is, in fact, a prison. Then in the later interviews, Chris Madsen told us that Illidan, and therefore Sargeras, are going to be a Last Titan thing, so Conspiracy, Titans Return, Sargeras that started his entire crusade for this, everything is going to culminate in part 3 of the World Soul Saga. However, now that I was thinking about this, I realized how crazy that actually is based on Dragonflight and the Shadowlands lore. So, in the previous video I talked about how Iridikron was right the entire time. He told us that the Titans only want our planet and that he will wait them out. He said he will defeat him, which is kind of funny, as after all, the Titans are like these godlike beings and he's only a tiny dragon in comparison, but he knows things. The Dragonflight book added a new zone in Northrend. It told us that there is a giant secret tunnel, very likely close to the Askron Citadel, a secret base of the Primal Incarnate Iridikron.
Someone did a really good job, actually, on one of my YouTube videos convincing me that the story of Iridikron is actually the same as the story of Moby Dick. And he was totally right. Basically, the story of a much less powerful being trying to kill something that they know themselves is way more powerful than them, right? Can destroy them in an instant. And yet they are going to go out and try to destroy it. That's exactly what this is. He is Moby Dick. Or he is the guy who's trying to kill Moby Dick.
We have a realm to destroy.
Limes, thank you for the follow. Welcome to our Scourge.
Just like that wing, Illyricum was a dragon of the deep places, and
This
he
is Twitch, not
found out
YouTube, Sam. You're
the
wrong
Titan
platform.
prison mechanism all over the planet. He knows what's up. He's probably planning to sabotage it. He's obviously not planning to face the Titans one-on-one, otherwise he wouldn't be so confident. All he wanted with the Void was really to draw them in and then to do his thing in Northrend. As he said, he's waiting for us in Northrend. However, then I want to put a spotlight on the Shadowlands and how much all this actually makes sense. Now, I know the general sentiment, no one likes this, but hear me out for a minute, as this
Captain
might
Ahab, yep.
slightly redeem Shadowlands at least a bit, or at least it might make a little bit more sense. Everyone knows the Jailer is the lamest villain in all of existence, but when you don't think about him as the end goal, but just part of the entire picture, it
Look,
makes...
if we're going to take anything from the Jailer other than the fact that he was a bald, big-nippled, shitty boss, it was the final thing he said, as he's laying on his knees there and he's dying, you know, where whatever, he's returning to his robot form, whatever happened there. He says, a cosmos divided cannot survive what is to come. So what was he talking about there? Could he be talking about the Void? Could he be talking about the Titans? That reference could fit both. All we know is that he knew something was coming. He knew something was coming, and his plan, he thought, would be a way to defeat it.
More sense. This part, of course, can't really be redeemed. I mean, they did ruin
Sam's gonna have the Jailer haircut.
forever. As based on this lore, his entire thing was that he was just a pawn created by the Jailer, and he was only doing his bidding. The storyline was that the entire Wrath of the Lich King was not the real goal. What the actual purpose of the Icecrown Citadel in the Scourge was to create the Forge of Souls. Originally, Forge of Souls was a Scourge...
Yeah, I'm balding, okay? Does it have to come up every time the fucking Jailer comes up? Jesus Christ. I already hate that villain enough. Now I gotta deal with this shit.
Crashing soul
I'll hire
mechanism
it,
to empower their engines. However, we've learned at the end of Shadowlands that Zoal had ordered the Lich King to create it so that he can connect it to the Sepulchre and so that he can undo existence, essentially utilizing the very soul of Azeroth. Artis and his Scourge had built this immaculate machinery that siphoned the very soul of Azeroth. I know this part is essentially terrible, it kinda ruins the character of Artis, as apparently according to this he had zero agency, but that aside, I'm almost certain Artis didn't actually build this. He only modified the original Titan machinery or just built a plug on top of it. With the lore we've just learned from the War Within, this...
By the way, I wouldn't say that Arthas had zero agency and that was, you know, what the kind of the lore... It just revealed basically that it was all part of the, you know, the Jailer's plan. In the end, Arthas actually prolonged the Jailer's, you know, servitude in the Maw, because Arthas was able to kind of overcome the whispers in the helm and everything else and kind of do his own bidding. Like, he did kind of what he wanted at the time. So they gave Arthas at least that, and that he was so he was so powerful and able to maintain his some composure in that helm that he kind of thwarted the Jailer's plans. It wasn't until after he died that the Jailer's plans started to come to fruition again.
Completely changes the Shadowlands context. See, we've
my
been to the
DK's not
Forge of
bald.
Souls, it was a part of the Icecrown Citadel, it's actually not that deep, but apparently it is reaching the World Soul of Azeroth since it can siphon the essence. On the other hand, we are just about to reach the actual essence of Azeroth's World Soul in Kazakh, and we can see Titan machinery that powers this. The World Core is at the bottom of the coreway, it is 5 zones deep, like significantly underground, and this is a giant Titan operation that probably took hundreds of years. On the other hand, there is no way the Forge of Souls actually reaches this deep. What I think is really going on is that Artis and the Scourge can build this on top of Titan machinery, on top of the main facility of Azeroth's prison, and just hear me out of this. I know it might sound a little bit crazy. As I said, Northrend is the spot, the most important spot on Azeroth. This is where the main Titan facility was planted in, where the Titan Keepers ruled from, where Algalon the Observer was monitoring all the other facilities on Azeroth from. This is where the Titans are going to come when they come in the Last Titan. They're not going to come to Kazakh or Kalimdor or the Eastern Kingdoms. This all makes sense when you think about it. Azeroth's...
don't forget, it's also where Galakron's, you know, corpse currently lays. Right, so there's that whole thing, the Titan failed experiment, all that stuff, the dragon aspects, that all goes back to Northrend too. So yeah, Northrend's a big story tie-in.
World Soul is gigantic.
This is the image of the World Soul that I was saying looks just like the outer wall of the orb that Iridikron broke out of. Literally looked just like this. It was blue, red, and purple, and yellow just before it exploded. This is not Azeroth, guys. This is the outer wall of her prison.
We see a part of it in
Telling
Kazakhstan,
you.
there is a part of it in Kazan, in Silitus, in Northrend. It seems to be literally all over the world. So how do you imprison such a large entity? Obviously, you don't create one facility and put it there. We're never going to go to the world core and see the whole Azeroth, as Azeroth is gigantic. Almost certainly this is a worldwide mechanism, but the control room in the center of it is located in Northrend. This is why the jailer put the Lich King in Northrend, why he implanted his machinery there and not in Kazakhstan or Kalendor, and why the Titans are going to come to Northrend. I think all the facilities we are currently uncovering and that we are going to uncover are just a part of the worldwide mechanism that all really plugs into Northrend, somewhere below the Ice Crown Citadel. In fact, I think the entire prison is actually below Northrend. Ulduar is at the top of the control room, but something crazy is underneath the surface. I don't think Iridicron dug out this base. I think he just repurposed a part of the Titan facility or some tunnels they might have dug. Icecom was also planted there for a reason at this spot. This is like a pin in the most potent bit. Do you think it's crazy how much underground stuff is actually going on in Northrend when you remember a few things? Even with the Nerubians that have tons of tunnels, as well as old gods that had also dug deep. As we know, Nerubians ran into the faceless ones.
Yeah, there is a lot of underground shit when you think about it in Northrend, for sure. And actually, before Wrath of the Lich King came out, the Nerubians and kind of what we see right now in Ashkahet, that was supposed to be part of that expansion. That's supposed to be part of the Wrath of the Lich King. They had this whole thing laid out, how we were gonna go underground and see the Nerubians and see the Nerubian cities and all that stuff. And then it just became the instance because they never actually finished it out. They didn't create an actual massive proper city like they wanted to. But originally, that was going to be a Northrend story. Essentially, all the Nerubian shit that we see right now was going to be a Northrend story.
Under the ground. Something is up under Northrend, and
yes,
it
please,
is
another
big.
underground.
We've never seen it, we've only gotten glimpses of it, and the Titans definitely know what's up. The Manifold itself might not even be empowering Kazakhstan, but it could be providing power to Northrend while also getting the energy to make the core way work. Remember, all these archives that we're learning from are just Titan information. They could be lying as well. Zomal, as lame as he was, knew about all of this. He told us about what is to come. He tried to capitalize on this secret knowledge. I think the true chamber is going to be beneath the Ice Crown Citadel, beneath the Forge of Souls. Another hint, do you remember that giant Titan elevator that looks like the coreway in Storm Peaks? The Titans were definitely digging deep and doing things below the ground.
I don't even remember that.
There's so many Earthen in Northrend, and as we have learned, they employ Earthen for the real digging operations. Very likely the true prison is not in Ulduar, as that is where they put Yoxer and Another. I'm pretty sure they wouldn't imprison an old god so close to Azeroth's world soul as he can corrupt it. Also, a few more things to keep in mind. There are a few more oddly suspicious hints. We've recently learned that a giant Titan Watcher that patrolled Dragonblight recently disappeared. No one has seen him since. Furthermore, Dragonblight, Crystal Song, and a few other zones are very odd zones when you think about them. Crystal Song is incredibly potent in magic, albeit from that war, but do you notice that all over Northrend there are ley lines that blue dragons decided to settle here out of all the places? Because
the ley lines are going to be an important story again. Those are everywhere in Northrend. And remember, I mean, we got a bunch of ley line lore back in Legion with all the what's it called? The fucking elf people from Suramar and shit. That was all about ley lines, and that lore continues in Northrend for sure. There's a ton of that.
So potent. As you might know, Arcane is the magic of order of the Titans, and Northrend seems to be ground zero. Another interesting hint, I previously told you that the Manifold had a place in Kandor. Very likely this is Diremol, that used to be an ancient elven city that was also known to be incredibly potent in magic like a ley line, and it's possible a Titan facility was actually under the city. So while we can't say for certain, I'm almost sure all the hints we're getting and the new Titan facilities we discover will all lead to the last Titan and the monstrosity of a prison that we will discover under the revamped Northrend that the Titans will be after. Thanks for watching. Check out my video on how Iridicron was right by clicking on the screen, and check out my Raid Shadow Legends channel by clicking on the screen as well.
Interesting lore. Yeah, and I don't think any of this video was like crazy speculative or anything. All this is true. This is all lore that's already been laid out. We know that Northrend's important when it comes to ley lines. We know that Northrend's important when it comes to Titan facilities, to the Lich King and the Jailer. It all connects up there, right? It's all at the tippy top. It's just the tip. But it is very important, and it's going to become important again in the last Titan.